Or okay, sorry about that. Now I'm recording. All right, so when you're in here, should have your name as the agent and then templates. This is the important part because we've created templates for you guys to use, so you don't have to go finding all the documents you might need. So you see we have 4 templates. We have a listing for Indiana, a listing for Michigan, and a purchase for Indiana and a purchase for Michigan. You can ignore this part that says global in front. That is just saying that it's available to the whole office. So this is going to be a purchase for Indiana. So let's click on that and we'll click save. So it's just created our file for us. And this is like the property summary page. So this is where you want to just type in as much information as you can. Obviously, you can see here under this property summary, it's brought in all this information from the MLS. You really don't need to add anything else, I don't think. It looks like it grabbed everything I want. And below that, you can start typing in things for the purchase summary, your commission if you want to, and the listing summary if you're on the listing side. But because we're just doing the buyer contract, let's say my client's not ready to write an offer on this house, we're just going to look at it. We're going to skip this part for now. No reason to fill it out. And you can also see up here, you can change the status as you go. So if you get it under contract, you can just click pending, or whoops, didn't mean to click that, go back to active. Another thing to point out here on this dark gray bar across the top, this is like your taskbar for this file itself. So if you click within here, you can toggle between all your options within this file. But then if you went up to this white taskbar, that's for all of zip forms. So if you click one of those, it's going to take you out of the file. All right, but we are going to go in order of these items here. So we're going to go from summary to parties. I think the next best step is to type in the people that are going to be signing. You'll see I already pulled in the listing agent, Steve Weldy, pulled in me as the buying agent, and then we need to type in our buyers. So here on the left-hand side, you can click buyer 1 to fill out your buyer. And we're going to say Rosemary is buyer number 1. And all you really need is first name, last name, and email. And then another key point here is to check this box to save them to your address book so you don't have to retype them in every time. If you had someone already in your address book, you can just click this address book button and pull in their information. Another thing to note is the signing representative here at the bottom. This would only be necessary if like you had an LLC that was buying a house or selling a house. You would put the LLC information here at the top, and then whoever the authorized signer is for that LLC, you'd put their information down here at the bottom. But does not apply to this, so we'll click save. Rosemary is buyer 1, and then let's do buyer 2, and we'll say Paula is buyer 2. And again, I'm going to check this box to save them to my address book. And save. All right, so pretty simple. I find it's a lot easier to add your people in before you start filling out documents or doing anything for e-signature. Just kind of has everything, for the most part, done for you before you get to the rest. So again, we're going to go up to this dark gray bar at the top and go to the next section, which is documents. All right, so you can see the folders that we've already created for you guys for the templates. So you have your purchase documents, your executed purchase documents, your title documents, inspections, repairs, closing docs, and then an archive folder if you ever archived any of your documents. The difference between these first 2 document or folders is this purchase documents is where you're going to fill out your purchase documents originally. Once they're filled out, you'll drag them into here and you'll see it has this red clip. That just means that there's required forms in there. So if you were to click on that, you can see these are the forms that we require with a new purchase. So once those are all executed, you can drop those forms on top of these. And once this is full, it'll send it to the office to review your file. At that time, when it sends to the office to review, this red thing will turn orange. And once we approve it, it'll turn green. But for now, we're just doing a buyer contract. So we're going to click in here because this is where we fill everything out. And you can see these are the forms that initially come into this template, because these are usually what you need for a purchase. You'll note that there's no seller's disclosure or lead-based paint, and that's because you're obviously going to pull that from the MLS, because the seller would have already filled that out, because we're on the buyer side here. So for this example, we're just going to do the buyer contract. So I'm going to click that. Exit out of this thing. Okay. So you can see it looks similar to any other form editing software. You can click and start filling things out. It's asking what date this is going to start on. We'll click today. The company name autofills, and so does the buyer 1 and buyer 2. And maybe we'll set this expiration for December 31st. All right, let's scroll down like we're filling this thing out. Again, you're going to type in the property search. So let's say any property that meets the buyer's needs in Indiana. Okay, for the retaining fee, I'm not going to charge a retaining fee. So I just want to type in NA. Oh, well, it doesn't let me when I start typing in the letters because they're expecting a number to be put in here. Well, to get around that, just hit the space bar one time, turns green, and then I can type in letters. So that's a little cheat code. Same thing down here on commission. I'm not going to charge a dollar amount. I'm going to charge a percentage. You try to type in a letter, it doesn't let you. But if you hit that space bar one time, turns green, and it lets you type in letters. So I'll say 3%. And let's say my minimum is 2,500. All right, so you can continue filling this form out the way you normally would. Pretty simple to do. And you get down to the bottom, and you'll see that it has my name as the buyer's agent, my license number. The company does not have the company license number. We're trying to figure that out with them to where that autofills for everybody, so you don't have to type it in every time, because that's kind of annoying. Hopefully they fix that today, but we'll see. And then managing broker is myself. Again, we're trying to get that part to autofill as well, so you don't have to type me or add me to your transaction every time, so that I'm automatically in there. Then we have buyer 1, Rosemary, and buyer 2, Paula. All right, so everything looks good. Let's say I'm ready to send this thing out for signature. We're going to click up here, this prepare signing button, and that's going to take us to where we sign. This first pop-up that comes up here is asking what folder we want the signed documents to go back into. For example, if you were sending out the entire purchase packet for signature, you might have it return back to the executed purchase document, so you don't have to drag it over yourself. So for this example, I'm going to do that. So after everybody signs, it's going to go back into that folder rather than the original folder I created it in. Click create. And it takes you to Authentisign, or if you use DocuSign, it would take you to DocuSign. So we'll exit out of that. Okay, so everything should look filled out the way I just did it. And you'll see you've got all our people down here. Now on the right, you need to click add participants to actually add these people to the document to sign. And you can just click add from transaction because we already added them to our transaction. And it has everybody in there that was in our in our parties on transaction. So we're going to click myself since I'm going to sign as the managing broker, and then we're going to click Paula and Rosemary as buyer 1 and 2. Now, it's going to ask me what everyone's role is on the document that already has Rosemary and Paula as buyer 1 and 2. But because I'm the selling agent as well, it wants to know if I'm also the managing broker. So we're going to click my name, yes, and assign signature blocks. Boom. All right, so now you have everyone's signature field where they're supposed to be. And to the right, they have the date. That's going to stamp as soon as they sign. It'll stamp the date on there. So as soon as you're good, everything looks the way you want it to, you can click next up here. This pop-up is just asking if you want to set like an expiration date for the file for them to sign, but we're not going to change anything. It's a whole month. And then you click send. Invitations have been sent. So like we like we said, once they do sign, it's going to go back into this executed purchase documents folder, and it's going to be right over here, and it's going to say Authentisign, and you're just going to drag that on top of whichever one it belongs to. So you'll just drag it and drop it on top. Now, say you sent the e-signature packet out to be signed, and you're like, what's going on with it? Did it send? Um, Nobody signed it yet. You can actually check on it. So up here on this dark gray taskbar, you can see where it says e-sign. You can click that, and it'll show what I just sent out. So it'll say sent, or if it was just a draft, maybe I didn't actually send it, it would say draft. And once they sign, it will say signed. You can see who the participants are. Those are the three people that are signing. And if you click this blue drop down here, you can resend it, you can reset it, or you can duplicate it. Does anyone have any questions just on that kind of standard process?
Hey Joey, is there a way that we can move our contacts over from uh, Dotloop?
Rosemary, you might be able to touch on this, but I believe you could download them as a CSV file from Dotloop if you wanted to. Um,
I've tried and I cannot find a way to download it.
from Dotloop.
Yeah, as you guys would be the only people to have it.
Yeah, we might be able to. I'll have to look into that. We were more focused on bringing in the transactions themselves from Dotloop and not necessarily the contacts, but we can check on that here. I'll make a note that we
Yeah.
see if that's possible.
Let me send them a message today, Rob, and I'll let you know what I find out. I'll
Because
see. I'm assuming it's the same concept. It would just be downloading, exporting them from Dotloop and putting them into your address book on here. But let me get that process and see what they say.
yeah, because I don't have the authority to do it. It only allows me to import, and because
Mm.
those contacts are virtually the offices.
Yeah, we might be able to do that as a whole. Um, yeah, good question. All right. If no one else has any questions specifically like creating a transaction in here, I'm going to just show you guys how to bring a transaction from Dotloop to zip forms if it's one that you're working on actively. There's kind of an easier way to do it for maybe you have 5 deals going on that you want to bring over. Um, I wouldn't use it for, past transactions that are closed. We're backing all those up as the office for you guys. But if you wanted to bring in something that you have pending or something that you just listed, this would be a good way to do it. So I'm going to kind of show you how to do that real quickly. All right. So the first step in doing that is going to be creating just a new file in zip forms. So I'm going to bring in one of my listings from Dotloop, and it's a new listing. And the address is 6153 Snyder Road, Berrien Springs, Michigan. And I'm going to type in the address again here. All right. This one's pending. But again, I'm just doing this to bring in because I already have all the files in Dotloop. So this is just the easiest way to do that. I'm still going to select my template for it. And this is a Michigan house. So I'm going to say listing in Michigan and click save. All right. So it kind of takes us to the same page we were in before, but we need to bring all our documents that are already executed from Dotloop. So if you look up here under summary, they've got all these other options. There's this button email to TXN, whatever that stands for. Um, so you actually, transaction, I think, you actually have an email specific to each transaction where you can email documents and they'll automatically put them in here for you. What we're going to do is we're going to click that and we're going to copy this email that it has here. All right. And that's all we have to do in zip forms. Next, we're going to go to Dotloop. So I already have that tab up. And here's my Dotloop page. And I've got this house on Snyder Road. So I'm going to click in there. And you can see I have a lot of documents. It'd be a real pain to download and upload all of these back into zip forms. So to get around that, we're going to use that email I just copied. We're going to add person, and we're just going to say zip forms file or whatever you want to make their name. And we're going to paste that email that we just took. All right. And then for the role, you need to put other. And we're going to click add person. All right. So now I have this person in here. And now I'm going to take all of my documents. I'm going to check every folder. And I'm going to share it with that person I just created. So you see I have zip forms file 1. I'm going to just leave it as view only and then attach PDF. Oh, PDF is too large. Guess I have too much stuff in here. So I was warned that that might happen. So if you do have a ton of stuff in here, you might have to do it a couple times, probably because I have inspection reports in here. But let's just say we do my offer documents and my listing documents and see if that works. Attach PDF and click share. All right, so it said that is shared with me. And my understanding is once I refresh my file over here in zip forms, it should show up. If I go to documents and then I'm going to refresh everything, I think it actually kicks me out and then I have to go back into it. Yeah,
And
that's
it might
correct.
take, Joe, it might take yesterday when we were doing this, it took like a minute to 3 minutes. So
Yeah, I
just
saw that.
hang tight.
Well, I guess we'll give it a minute and try it again. But I'll show you the sample we did yesterday. We did that same process on this property. And what it does is it makes this additional folder called inbox, and it has all my documents from Dotloop right here. So I at least have everything. You can drag it and drop it in any of these folders that it might apply to. You can check the boxes and click move and move it where you want it. So you might want to move this to, executed listing documents just to try and easily get things in here for active deals that you're working on. Anything moving forward, anything brand new, you can just create directly in here. And anything sold in the past, we're backing those up in our Google Drive, and you can also do so on your end if you want. But my understanding is that Dotloop will not delete, they're not going to delete your files once our accounts stop. You just won't be able to create anything new. So if you have to go back in at a later date and pull things out of there, you should be able to. All right, let's check again on the Berrien Springs house and see if it uploaded. Yep, there you go. So it just takes like 1 or 2 minutes, it looks like. And there's that inbox folder. So that's everything we just brought over from Dotloop. Although Rosemary doesn't look like it brought everything over that I selected.
It was taking a little bit of time, little by
For
little, bringing
oh,
stuff
really?
in.
Okay.
Yeah. So, especially if they were larger, it was taking some time. But yeah, just double checking when you're doing that, that they're coming over. And they were kind of coming over in waves.
I gotcha. Yep, there they are. Okay, so it seems like it just takes a few minutes for it to bring everything in. Um, but again, that's a good way to bring things from your dot loop. If you maybe you have 2 or 3 deals you're working on and you just want to start working on them within zip forms, you just create the file in zip forms, use that custom email, and send all the documents from Dotloop to that custom email. That's really all I needed to cover. Any questions, thoughts, opinions? Actually, no opinions. I take that back. Just thoughts. I'll show you one too here. This is kind of what it looks like once everything is approved. See, it turns green. And you see those are those placeholders that I dropped them on. And it says Authentic-Sign on top of the ones that have been signed. Whereas originally it might have just said PDF, or it might have just said like zip forms form. That's kind of what it looks like. And then if you were to click in listing sold, because this is a listing, there's other placeholders that you can drop once this property sells under the purchase agreement, seller's disclosure, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, good question, Hannah. So, okay, so Hannah's asking how you can add like additional like initials to the bottom of each purchase agreement page. Some people like to do that. Yeah, let me show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to go back into that purchase that we made. Where is that at? Post Road, there it is. All right. So if I wanted to send this purchase agreement out for signature, I'm not going to fill anything out here. But you'd fill all this out the way you normally would, purchase agreement. And then where you add those initials, Hannah, is in the signing section. So once you click, yeah, Deborah, I'll go back to that. Once you click prepare signing, it's going to ask again what folder. That's optional. So we'll just leave it blank for now. And you would add your signers per usual. So let's just say we add Rosemary to this. All right, over here over on tools, Hannah, that's where you can click. And at the top, you can click who you're adding something for. So we're adding it for Rosemary. So you're going to click initials. There they are. Just drag them where you want them. A fun thing you can do, if you always do the same layout on every purchase agreement, so you always want initials here for buyer one and buyer two, you can set it all up one time, and then you can go to layouts, and you can create like a new layout and say purchase agreements, Indiana. And then every time you have a purchase agreement, you can apply that layout, and it'll always put those initials on there for you. So maybe you only have to do it one time. But that's where you add things. So you go to the e-signature page, and then you can click tools, and you can add extra signature boxes, a text line for them to type something in, initials, checkbox, drop downs, anything you want. All right, hopefully that helps. Deborah, I'll show you where to grab that email from. All right, so say you have a deal you're working on, Deborah, in Dotloop, and you want to bring it over here. You would create a new file and you would name it, of course, the address of that property. On this summary page, there's this email to transaction button. So you click that, and here's that email it gives you. So you can copy that and paste that into Dotloop. Okay. Anything else I can show you guys that might be helpful? I know there's a big learning curve with this type of stuff, so I think the more you can get in there and use it, the better, even if you just do like what we did today and create a sample purchase for a property that's in the MLS, or maybe you have a listing coming up in a couple months. Maybe you go ahead and try and put that information in now just to see how it goes and see what questions might come up while you try it. I find it's always better to try some samples and figure out the problems early rather than when you're rushing to put an offer in, on a tight deadline. All right, well, that's all I've got. We recorded most of that. I think the first like 5 minutes I wasn't recording, but we'll send this recording out. And I know we also sent out yesterday 2 videos, just doing a sample buyer contract like we did today, and also doing a sample listing contract, just in case any of you want like a refresher before you do your own files. We're also happy to like walk you through this stuff if anyone needs to come in and like have us walk you through it in person. That's no problem. Just not next week for me. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for getting on and taking the time to pay attention to all this. I know it's a little overwhelming, can be a lot, but we'll get there. All right. Have a good Friday. Happy Easter.